National Exam Quick Reference Chart 2025. Dietary. Hot water dishwasher. Wash cycle is 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Rinse cycle 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Final rinse cycle 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Third compartment sink. Sanitizer third compartment. Water temp is 75 degrees Fahrenheit with 50 parts per million if bleach is used, or 12.5 parts per million if iodine is used. Pots and pans. Pots and pans are washed in hot water of 170 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 seconds. Food temps. Hot food, 135 Fahrenheit and above. Cold food, 41 Fahrenheit and below. Freezer, 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Walk-in fridge and all other refrigerators, 41 degrees Fahrenheit and below. Steam table, 135 degrees Fahrenheit and above. Milk, 41 degrees Fahrenheit and below. Dietary section. The MDS 3.0 is K section. Kitchen must be open at least 12 hours per day. Max 14 hours between evening meal and breakfast without a snack. Max 16 hours may pass between dinner and breakfast with a snack. A bedtime snack is required by federal law. Must store pots and pans and all other items 6 inches off the floor. Nothing may be on the floor. Therapeutic diet is any diet that deviates from the regular diet. Only a physician can order a diet. The dietitian must approve the diet or determine the specifics. The dietary manager, DM, must be full-time. If the DM is not a registered dietitian, must have regular consultation with a registered dietitian monthly. Dietitian must be registered with the American Dietetic Association. Poultry cooked to 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Meats cooked to 145 degrees Fahrenheit. Hamburger and hot dogs 155 degrees Fahrenheit. Reheat foods to 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Menus must be kept for 1 month, 4 weeks. Menus prepared 1 month in advance, 4 weeks. Therapeutic diet, low fat, low salt, mechanical soft or puree, low carb. Thickeners, pudding, honey, nectar. Cold food served at 41 degrees Fahrenheit and below. Hot food served at 135 degrees Fahrenheit and above. Comprehensive assessment. A comprehensive assessment must be completed within 14 days of admission and then every 12 months or upon a significant change in the resident's physical or mental condition. The comprehensive assessment is the same as the MDS. We currently use MDS 3.0. A significant change involves a new MDS or comprehensive review, so it must be done within 14 days. Each resident must be examined or have a physical exam no less than every 3 months, and their comprehensive assessment must be revised to ensure the continuing accuracy of the comprehensive assessment. An RN must sign or certify the accuracy of the comprehensive assessment. The initial comprehensive assessment must be transmitted to the state within 7 days of completion of the assessment. After that, all MDS information must be transmitted to the state every 30 days. Comprehensive care plan must be prepared within 7 days of completion of the comprehensive assessment, but no later than 21 days from date of admission. Care plan is prepared with the participation of the resident, family, or legal representative, and the resident's attending physician, and an RN responsible for the resident. The care plan is updated whenever the comprehensive assessment is reviewed or changed. A care plan conference must be held quarterly. Chapter 2 of 15. Interview formats. Preliminary interview, brief discussion to screen qualifications of applicants to determine if to interview them, i.e. telephone interview. Non-structured interview, open-ended. Open-ended questions and lets applicant talk and expand on answers. In-depth interview, very structured interview, limits applicants' responses to questions. Patterned interview, all questions are highly structured and sequential. We use structured interviews, statistical interview, with lots of open-ended questions, and use a rating scale to assign a number value for each response. A clinical interview is just walking into an interview with no set questions and using your gut instinct whether someone will fit in. We use interview and appraisal panels to have more than one person involved to adjust for bias and then assign a global score. Interview questions. Can ask if they were convicted of a crime, not if they were arrested. Can ask them if they drink, but not if they sought counseling or treatment. Can ask if they can do the tasks of a job, but not if they have physical limitations until after an offer of hire. Interview questions. Can require medical info and medical exam or drug testing only after an offer of hire. That is critical. Appraisals. Rating scale is assigning a numerical value, 1 to 5, on a list of criteria on an appraisal. Global rating is adding up all of the points in the rating scale. Recruitment, finding staff. Staff referral is the best way to advertise open jobs. Common rating errors. Error of central tendency, rating everyone as average or in the center. Halo effect, judging someone on just one trait. Always late or never smiles, for example, without regard to actual performance. Leniency error, rating someone whose performance is substandard as acceptable to avoid confrontation. Types of raises. Merit increase is based on performance. COLA is a cost of living increase based on inflation. CPI, or Consumer Price Index, measures inflation. Equity increase is necessary to ensure longer serving employees are paid at current market rate, so newly hired workers are not paid substantially more than current workers, or they'll leave. Must do a salary survey every couple of years. Benchmarking is comparing salaries paid to employees based on one wage group, for example, nursing salaries. Orientation. Employees must be given orientation, which includes mandated training. An employee who is not given orientation is a liability because emergency and fire procedures are the most critical in services. OBRA 1987, Medicare, mandates most training. The same person who does orientation should do the checklist of attendees. Employee training is called in services. Line authority. Solid line equals line authority, manager or assistant manager who can give direction to staff. Dotted line is staff or advisory. Line authority means they are line managers and can give direction to staff. Staff authority is no authority, just an employee. Advisory authority is a consultant who cannot give direction to staff but can offer recommendations. Management levels. Upper, GB, NHA, medium director, middle, DON, consultant, firm, department heads, lower, charge nurse. I think that was a poorly translated graphic. Management styles. Autocratic, dictatorial, micromanaging and controlling everything. Paternal is being supportive or having a fatherly or motherly attitude towards employee and wanting them to succeed. Best style. Laissez-faire means delegating responsibility to staff and only being involved when something goes wrong. Democratic manages by consensus. Delegation. Administrators must delegate to staff best qualified to do the work. Centralization is concentrating person into the hands of one person. A company must decentralize to function properly. Management functions: forecasting, assessing future needs and services. Planning, bringing together the resources needed to implement a strategic plan. Directing, explaining to staff what needs to be done and then help them achieve the goals. Organizing, determining the departmental structure and lines of responsibility in a company. Evaluating, comparing results to expectations. Controlling quality, taking corrective action to fix identified problems or deficiencies. Marketing, selling the beds in a facility, explaining the quality of care, food, and therapy to a prospective resident or family member. Innovating, constantly improving services and customer satisfaction. Public relations, managing communication with the community and the image of the facility. Policies and procedure. Policies are written by upper and middle management. Procedures are written at the middle and lower management levels. Risk management. Risk management involves managing the risks of negative outcomes in the workplace. Risk is an event that could lead to financial loss or damage. The main focus is to prevent injury, theft, malpractice, and negligence. Chapter 3 of 15. Barriers to communication. Agenda carrying. Employees skew information based on personal needs. Selective hearing. Employees filter unpleasant information, incapable of understanding. Differences in knowledge. People perceive information differently based on knowledge. Filter effect. Tells manager only what they think the manager wants to hear. Subgroup allegiance. A subgroup demands allegiance from its members. Nurses, kitchen staff, for example. Status difference. Staff hesitant to approach a member of a higher status. Nurse aide to doctor. Language barrier. Staff does not understand technical jargon. Self-protection. Staff withhold information that reflects negatively on themselves. Information overload. Too much information and staff shuts down. Hiring statistics. Must retain employment applications for 6 months per EEOA. Must keep statistics of numbers of applicants hired and interviewed and the race of applicants and who was hired. Adverse impact. Hiring rate of minorities must be at least 80% of the majority. If you hire 10 whites, then you must hire 8 minorities. Job description. Specifies job title, experience, and education requirements, salary, benefits, who you report to, and the tasks of the job, similar to a job ad. Job analysis is the mental process of collecting information about the duties, responsibilities, necessary skills, outcomes, and work environment of a particular job. Job specification describes or is a written description of the knowledge, skills, education, experience, and abilities you believe are essential to performing a particular job. Marketing challenges. Intangibility. Unlike a Hilton, customers cannot know what it's like to be in your facility without having actually been there. We need to convince them that we will take care of them. Inseparability. Customers perceive a single instance of bad service by one employee as bad service provided by the entire company. One bad employee can destroy your business. Inconsistency. Service varies from shift to shift. Late night shift typically the worst. Progressive discipline. A verbal warning, 3 write-ups, termination. Values and norms. These concepts relate to employee behavior and how we shape that behavior for our needs. A value is like a policy. It is vague. We respect resident rights. A norm is specific, like a procedure. It implements the value. We address all residents in a calm voice by their last name, expected behavior. Reinforcement theories. Reinforcement. Behavior is naturally reinforcing or will be extinguished depending on consequences. Put your hand in a fire and get burned. You will not do it again. Operant conditioning is shaping behavior. Come late and we will write you up 3 times, then terminate you. Hint, if an employee comes in late or misses work, have the supervisor speak to them when they... something. Communications. Email. Electronic communication through internet or intranet. Firewire. High-speed cable that physically connects equipment and transfers data between them at high speeds that the wire or cable glows from the fire or heat. Bluetooth. Hands-free and wireless Wi-Fi communication. Chapter 4 of 15. Resident funds. Statement of resident funds or an accounting of funds must be provided quarterly for every 3 months. Must refund any monies held by the facility of a deceased or discharged resident within 30 days. Census calculation. Average length of stay. Total patient days over number of admissions in a year. For example, total patient days equals 30,000, number of annual admissions equals 1,200. 30,000 over 1,200 equals 25 days average stay per resident. Accounting systems. Cash accounting system. Record transactions when cash changes hands. Accrual accounting system. Records transaction when incurred or the date of the invoice or date of the check. Bookkeeping and accounting process. Nursing homes must use the accrual system. Bookkeeping process. Recording all financial transactions. 1. Journals. Books of original entry. General journal. Prepaid expenses. Entries that do not fit in other journals. Corrects errors in the other journals. General ledger. Summarizes debts and credits. Organized by account. General ledger code. Operating expenses and income. Organized by vendor name and general ledger code. Keywords. Revenues. Expenses. Income. Profit. Loss. Net profit. Chart of accounts. A listing of all the revenue and expense codes so you can code your invoices and find the information on the general ledger and P&L. Accounting process. Reporting financial results. Must produce the profit and loss statement and balance sheet to investors. Bookkeeping and accounting process. 1. Profit and loss statement. Income statement. Operating revenues, ancillary revenues, operating expenses, profit, loss. Shows whether your revenues covered your expenses. P&L is produced each month. Must match revenues and expenses for that month. 2. Balance sheet. Assets equals liabilities plus capital. Net worth. Assets, liabilities, capital. Shows financial condition, shows net worth, shows solvency. Balance sheet is produced every 3 months. There is no crossover. P&L, how much you paid, profit, income, loss, expenses, revenues. Balance sheet, what you're worth, liabilities, assets, net worth, capital, equity. Hint, you will never find revenues and expenses on the balance sheet and will never find revenues and expenses on the balance sheet. Bookkeeping and accounting process. Accounting equation. Assets equals liabilities plus capital. Working capital. Current assets minus current liabilities equals working capital. Purpose. To show how much you have available to buy equipment or invest in business. Current ratio. Current assets over current liabilities. Purpose: show whether you are solvent and can pay your bills. A ratio of 1 to 1 means break even. A ratio of 2 to 1 means you have $2 for every dollar of debt. Quick ratio or acid test ratio: cash plus accounts receivables plus money market funds over current liabilities. Purpose: calculate your most liquid assets. Types of expenses: fixed expenses, not affected by census; variable expenses, changes with census; semi-variable expenses, has a fixed and variable component like the electric bill. Depreciation: straight line depreciation. Depreciates evenly each year over the life of the asset. Accelerated depreciation takes the full depreciation amount in the first year. Ratio analysis: analyze financial information through the use of ratios that summarize date quickly. Chapter 5 of 15. Financial controls. Inventory valuing methods. These are used to calculate the value of inventory. LIFO: last in, first out. FIFO: first in, first out. Inventory tracking methods. The following are used to track theft and pillage. Periodic inventory: do an initial inventory, then count inventory every 12 months. Perpetual inventory: counts inventory constantly throughout the year. Inventory level management: inventory is a cash expense, and the goal is to have just enough but not too much and prevent theft and loss. Just in time: inventory is delivered by FedEx on the day it is needed. Economic order quantity: maintaining just enough inventory to meet needs, not too much or not too little. Golden rules: increase cash. To collect cash quickly, collect your accounts receivable, or AR. All you have to do is pick up the phone and ask them to pay you the money they already owe you. If you decrease your accounts payable, you are paying off debts and decrease cash. Extra cash on hand: if you have extra cash on hand, put it in a money market account. GAAP: generally accepted accounting principles. Entity principle: the owner is separate from the company and must disclose all transactions. Conservatism principle: must value your assets at the lowest valuation possible. Time period principle: must use the same calendar or fiscal year from one year to the next. Consistency period: must use the same accounting system from one year to the next. Objective evidence principle: must use the most objective evidence of your income and expenses. Source documents: original documents such as canceled checks, invoices, billing statements, etc. Materiality principle: must record all transactions that are material to the company's financial condition. Full disclosure principle: must fully record and disclose all financial transactions. Medicare and Medicaid. Medicare Part A, Title 18, inpatient services, hospital or nursing home, doctor's office, therapy, durable medical equipment. Automatically get Part A, no premium, at age 65. 20% copay from day 21. Home health, 20% copay. 3-day stay in hospital, do not count day of discharge. 100 covered days. First 20, copay free. Days 21 to 100, 20% copay. 30 days to return to facility. 60 days to regenerate another 100 days. Medicare Part B, outpatient services. Does not pay for custodial care. Must enroll in Part B. Choose it. Monthly premium, 20% copay from day 1. HHC 100%. Medicare Part D, prescription drug plan. Medicaid Title 19. Income limit $1,860. Asset limit $2,000. 5-year look-back period. Bed certification. Beds are either Medicaid or Medicare certified or duly certified for either Medicaid or Medicare. You can change your bed certifications 2 times per year. Cost reports. Cost reports are due to Medicaid within 90 days of the end of the facility fiscal or calendar year, used to determine your Medicaid rate. Decubitus scores? Decubitus. Okay, there. Decubitus scores is an opening. Oh, sore. It's not a score. Decubitus sore. A decubitus sore is an opening in the upper and deeper layer of the skin caused by lack of oxygen to skin tissue cells or friction or shearing by bones rubbing against the skin. Stages of a decubitus sore. Stage 1. Red or inflamed patch of skin that is visibly red but unbroken skin. Stage 2. Presents as a blister or open sore that extends from the dermis, skin surface, to the subcutaneous fat. Stage 3. The acute inflammation extends down through subcutaneous fat and deep down into the fascia tissue. Stage 4. Presents a deep wound or ulceration down to the bone. PASSR, pre-admission and pre-screening. The PASSR is required by Medicaid, and each person admitted to a nursing home must have one. It has steps. The first is a level 1 assessment to determine if you are mentally ill or mentally retarded. If not, you're done. If there is a history of MIMR, then you have to determine if they need 24-hour skilled nursing care, skilled therapy, skilled nursing, helps with ADLs. If not, Medicaid will not pay for them to stay there long term. Chapter 6 of 15. Key federal laws. ADA 1990 requirements. The Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, was developed and published by the American National Standards Institute, ANSI. ANSI does not enforce the ADA. State Life Safety Inspector handles the inspection. The ADA has 2 parts. The first is access by the handicapped to public buildings and transportation. It is enforced by the Architectural Barriers and Transportation Board. The second part prohibits discriminating against the handicapped in hiring and is enforced by the EEOC. ADA standards. All doors in facility are a minimum of 44 inches wide, except the bathroom door, which is 32 inches. Handicap parking space is 13 feet wide. Exit sign is illuminated 1 candle foot off of the floor. Ambient temperature in an NH is 71 to 81 degrees. Air temp is measured just off of the floor up to 3 feet. Knee space is 19 inches. Toes are 9 inches. High forward reach from a wheelchair is 48 inches. The high side reach from a wheelchair is 54 inches and the lowest reach is 9 inches, 9 to 54. A clear access or clear width for a wheelchair is 36 inches wide. Key federal laws. ADA continued. Cannot take more than 5 pounds of pressure to open a door or a faucet. A railing must bear the weight of 250 pounds. Must have grab bars in the shower and bath. A telephone cord is minimum of 29 inches long. Audible control on public telephone for hearing impaired is 12 to 18 decibels. Civil Rights Act, 1964. Civil Rights Act protects 5 classes of individuals. RRGCN, race, religion, color, gender, and national origin.
The CRA is enforced by the EEOC. Age and sex is not a protected class. The Tower Amendment to Title VII of the CRA allows ability testing for job applicants. Safe Medical Devices Act, SMDA. Must report an injury due to medical device within 10 days to manufacturer and the FDA. SMDA stands for Safe Medical Devices Act. Equal Pay Act requires that male and female workers must be paid at the same rate if doing the same work, enforced by the EEOC. Key federal laws. Equal Employment Opportunity Act, 1972. The EEOA amended the Civil Rights Act to define discrimination in employment as adverse impact. Adverse impact means you must hire minorities at a rate that is 80% of the hiring rate of the majority. If you fire 10 white people, then you have to hire 8 minorities. The EEOA is enforced by the EEOC. I feel like that other one was if you hire 10 white people, then you have to hire 8 minorities, because you said that before. EEOC stands for Equal Employment Opportunity Act and has exclusive jurisdiction over all discrimination cases. The EEOC provides employers uniform guidelines on selection of new employees per EEOA. Federal Insurance Contributions Act, FICA. Funds Social Security through payroll tax. The employer pays 50% of the FICA tax. Key federal laws. Fair Labor Standards Act sets the federal minimum wage. Overtime, underage workers must secure a permit from the Department of Labor. Maximum 240 hours of compensatory time per year. Oh my God. Enforced by the Department of Labor. I'm going to read that again. Fair Labor Standards Act sets the federal minimum wage. Overtime, underage workers must secure a permit from the Department of Labor. Maximum of 240 hours of compensatory time per year. Enforced by the Department of Labor. Family Medical Leave Act provides up to 12 weeks of unpaid leave for a worker to care for themselves, a child, or spouse, or their parents for an adoption. Must work 12 months and 1,250 hours to take leave. Cannot take leave for a sick brother or sister or if divorced. Or a divorced partner, I'm assuming. Age Indiscrimination Act protects workers 40 and older against discrimination. Needs 20 employees to be subject to this law. Cannot force an employee to retire. Enforced by the EEOC. Chapter 7 of 15. Federal laws. HIPAA is the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. The law protects workers who change jobs by requiring their new employer's insurance company to cover pre-existing conditions. The new employer's insurance company can only limit coverage for pre-existing medical conditions for 12 months, after which they must fully cover them. The worker can be covered from the first day of their new insurance. It becomes effective if they have a certificate of coverage under COBRA. COBRA is the Consolidated Budget Reconciliation Act, which allows terminated employees to retain their insurance coverage when they leave a job for up to 18 months. The worker must pay the full amount of their insurance premium. Certificate of coverage. When a worker is terminated, the employer must provide them a certificate of coverage that certifies they were covered under the major medical program. If the worker presents to the new employer the certificate of coverage, the new employer's insurance company cannot exclude coverage for pre-existing conditions at all. I did not know that. Key laws. OIG, Office of Inspector General, investigates Medicaid and Medicare fraud. AHCA, American Healthcare Association, represents for-profit nursing homes. AAHSA, American Association for Housing and Services to the Aging, represents not-for-profit homes. Social Security Administration is under the Department of DHHS. DHHS is the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Durable power of attorney is for both financial and healthcare matters. Power of attorney is only for financial matters. HCFA stands for the Healthcare Financing Administration. Designation of a healthcare surrogate, an advance directive that appoints an individual to act for the principal if they are incapacitated. End-stage disease, there is no treatment for the individual, will die. Terminal condition, if not treated, the individual will die, but they can be cured. Vegetative state, a person is in a coma and unable to communicate with their environment. Respite care, providing a caretaker a holiday by placing the person who needs care in a nursing for a week or two. Palliative care is providing care to relieve pain. Palliative care? Palliative? I think it's palliative care. Providing care to relieve pain. Oh my God. OSHA, General Duty Clause, provides safe workplace. Hazard communication standard. Inform employees of chemical dangers in the workplace through MSDS. Workers' rights to know is the MSDS. Need 11 employees to be subject to OSHA laws. Non-fatal injuries. Record in 300 log within 7 days. Must report fatal injuries and hospitalizations of 3 or more employees within 8 hours by phone to OSHA. Year-end report is the Form 300A. A equals abbreviated, between February 1st and April 30th. Supplemental report is the Form 301, which is full investigation report. OSHA medical record kept during employment plus 30 years. OSHA is an agency under the U.S. Department of Labor. Must post OSHA violation on front door for 3 days. NIOSH stands for National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. NIOSH provides research to OSHA. Ergonomic means the workplace is ergonomic means that the workplace is set up to minimize stress on workers and reduce injuries from repetitive tasks. OSHA medical records are kept for the course of employment plus 30 years. Employees must have physical exam upon hire and then annually. TB test. OSHA continued. OSHA compliance categories. 1. Imminent danger. Can close facility. 2. Serious. A major fine. 3. Non-serious violation. No harm. Fine. 4. De minimis violation. No harm. No fine. Most often cited deficiency, failure to post MSDS.
Chapter 8 of 15, Union Laws. National Labor Relations Board has sole jurisdiction over all labor matters. Must supervise and approve union elections. Approves bargaining units. Resolves disputes between unions and management. There are 4 main union laws. 1. Norris LaGuardia prohibits the federal courts from issuing an injunction to stop a union strike. Wagner Act requires management to sign a collective bargaining agreement with the unions, created the NLRB. Taft-Hartley, unions must give 10 days advance notice of a strike. Either side must give the other 90 days advance notice to change a union contract. The president can halt a strike for 80 days. An NH has 2 bargaining units, professional and non-professional. NLRB must approve them. Over 30% of workers must sign a union interest card to hold a union election. Over 50% plus one workers to approve a union. All grievances involving a union goes to the NLRB. Management cannot attend union meetings or contribute money to a union. Management cannot ask workers if they attend union meetings. 4. Landrum-Griffin Act is also known as the Union Financial Disclosure Law and protects union members from their union, the mafia-controlled unions. Requires the union to provide members an accounting of the dues collected and their pension funds. Lists of unions. CIO is the Congress of Industrial Organizations and was formed in 1935. AFL is the American Federation of Labor. AFL-CIO is the largest union in the U.S. SEIU is the Service Employees International Union and represents most nursing home employees. Corporate documents. Bylaws are the governance of a corporation. This is how our company managed and sets out the right of shareholders. Oh my God, let me read that again. Corporate documents. Bylaws are the governance of a corporation. By these laws, this is how our company manages and sets out the right of shareholders. Certificate of incorporation or charter is the document that forms a corporation when filed with the state. Mission statement is the purpose of a company, i.e., provide quality care at a reasonable price. Philosophy is the foundation of a company. Types of insurance policies. General liability insurance covers injuries to visitors and contractors in the facility or on the grounds. If a family member falls in the facility or is punched by a staff member, you are covered. Professional liability insurance, or malpractice, covers you if a patient or individual wearing a patient ID band is injured by nursing staff. A nurse gives the wrong medication to a resident, professional insurance would cover you. Automobile insurance covers the facility if the facility van is damaged in an accident. Property insurance insures the facility where the building or roof is damaged by storm or other natural disaster. Officers and directors insurance pays the legal fees to represent officers and director when sued by shareholders or other for action taken in scope of their employment. Business interruption insurance pays the facility for lost income due to the business not being able to operate because of a disaster, tornado, fire, hurricane, flood, etc. Burglary insurance pays the facility if money or property is stolen. Key legal terms. A subpoena is a court order to produce a thing or appear at specific time and place, i.e. trial subpoena. A subpoena duces tectum means to appear with records. Arraignment is going before a judge to enter a plea. An affidavit is a sworn statement under oath. U.S. Constitution is the law of the land. Governing body. The governing body has ultimate legal responsibility for the care in the facility. The governing body makes the critical decisions for the facility. The governing body must approve the budget. The governing body is responsible to develop and implement policies. The governing body creates the mission statement. The administrator is responsible for day-to-day management of the facility. Unemployment, FUTA, is the Federal Unemployment Tax Act, which taxes employers' premiums to pay for unemployment claims of their workers. Workers file a claim for unemployment with the state Unemployment Security Commission. Unemployment benefits are paid out for up to 26 weeks. Federal Employer Liability Act, FELA, requires employers to pay for medical costs and lost time of workers injured on the job. The employer pays the workers' compensation insurance premiums quarterly on IRS Form 941. Types of laws. A rule is made by an agency. A regulation is another name for a rule. A statute is passed by a legislature. Ordinance is passed by a local government. Code of regulations. Regulations or rules are published in the code.
Federal Registrar. Federal Register. New federal regulations are first published in the Federal Register. Management can only express their opinion of the value of a union. Oh, that was earlier. But management can only express their opinion of the value of a union. There. Chapter 9 of 15. Rehabilitation Act of 1973 prohibits discrimination of individuals with a handicap if the organization receives federal funds. Enforced by the EEOC. Patient Self-Determination Act, PSDA. PSDA requires a facility to inform resident of their right to make an advance directive. Cannot require a resident to make an advance directive. There may be different types of advance directives. A durable power of attorney, that is for both financial and medical matters. A living will concerns artificial life-prolonging measures, tube feeding and ventilator. Pregnancy Discrimination Act protects pregnant women in hiring and employment benefits. Employer health insurance plans must offer pregnancy coverage. Health insurance plans cannot charge pregnant workers additional premiums for pregnancy-related services. Women's Health and Cancer Rights Act provides health insurance coverage for breast reconstructive surgery due to breast cancer. Vietnam-era Readjustment Act requires all contractors receiving $25,000 or more in federal contracts to have a written affirmative action program to employ and advance Vietnam veterans. Aren't they all really old now? Ethics in patient referrals. Prohibits paying for Medicare referrals, including lunches, gifts, kickbacks, pads, and pens. Robinson-Patman Act prohibits a provider from self-referring a patient to facility they own, such as an MRI center, because too much incentive to bill for unnecessary services. Cannot fix the prices of services, etc., to inflate costs billed to Medicare. Safe harbor to Robinson-Patman can refer a patient to facility they have an ownership interest if has a capitalization of $50 million or more and is publicly traded. Mental Health Parity Act requires health plans to provide same dollar limits and lifetime limits for mental health benefits as other health benefits. Immigration Reform Act requires employers to verify worker citizenship status prior to hire, ID check. Newborn and Mothers Protection Act requires minimum stay of 48 hours after delivery, 96 hours for cesarean Delivery. Comprehensive Health Planning Act mandated local planning councils to determine the need for hospital and nursing home beds. ERISA, Employee Retirement Income Security Act, requires employers to protect funds and ensure future payments through the Pension Guarantee Corporation. Does not require an employer to provide a pension plan. Employer liability laws. Vicarious liability, same as strict liability and respondent superior, which is that the employer is responsible for the actions of its employees and contractors. False Claims Act pertains to submitting fraudulent claims to Medicare. Respondent superior, employer responsible for injuries caused by employees to third parties. Federal Employer Liability Act. Employer must pay medical bills and lost time and disability for employer on-the-job injuries. Fair Credit Act must advise job applicants if credit report is basis for denial of employment. I'm going to assume this is Ombudsman Budget Reconciliation Act of 1987. Congress passed the Ombudsman Budget Reconciliation Act that changed the reimbursement system from retrospective bills were paid after services rendered to prospective system, which pays a predetermined flat rate for all services based on a patient's diagnosis. Military Selective Service Act requires employers to freeze the benefits and job position of employees in military service up to 90 days from discharge. Clinical Laboratory Improvement Act, CLIA, Nursing homes are required to obtain a CLIA waiver from the Food and Drug Administration to do glucose meter testing for diabetic blood sugar levels. Must renew annually. Discrimination in Pregnancy Act prohibits hiring or firing of an employee just because they plan to get pregnant or are pregnant, enforced by the EEOC. Vocational Rehabilitation Act of 1973, federal contractors required to recruit and hire the disabled. Uniformed Service Employment and Reemployment Act, employers with workers in the Guard or Reserve called to active duty must allow them to return to their jobs upon completion of their service obligations. Older Americans Act, the OAA, essentially provides funding for services needed by the elderly that are not provided by Medicare and Social Security. OAA funding pays for seniors centers, housekeeping, meals, activities, Meals on Wheels, created the Long-Term Care Ombudsman for individuals 60 years and older, program administered through Area on Aging agencies. Custodial care, or intermediate care, involves observing an individual and monitoring nutritional intake and hydration, assist with activities of daily living, and administer medications. Skilled nursing care involves skilled nursing such as tube feeding, wound care, IVs, and other services required of a licensed nurse. Chapter 10 of 15. Tort. A civil wrong against an individual that results in injury to person or property and where there was a duty to prevent such injury. Mediation. Where a third party attempts to facilitate a mutually agreeable resolution between two parties. Arbitration. A legal process where a third party hears a dispute between two parties and renders a final decision. Most arbitration is binding arbitration, and the parties cannot appeal the arbiter's decision. Contract, an agreement between two or more persons that with legally enforceable rights and remedies is called a contract. Intestate, where an individual dies without a will. Testate, where a person dies with a will. Negligence, misconduct, improper care or treatment, or failure to meet standards that harm a patient is called negligence. Malpractice, failure to provide care in accordance with professional standards, is called malpractice. Conflict in laws. In the event of a conflict between federal and state laws, the more stringent standards should be followed. Medicare and Medicaid. Medicare, 3-day stay, do not count day of discharge. 100 covered days. First 20 are copay free. Days 21 to 100 have a 20% copay. 30 days to return to facility, 60 days to regenerate, another 100 days. Medicare Part A is inpatient care in a hospital or nursing home. Individuals are entitled to Part A at age 65 and do not pay a premium. Medicare Part B, individuals must elect to purchase Part B, pay a monthly premium, and also copays. Medicare Part D is the prescription drug plan that individuals must enroll in and pay premiums and copays. Medicaid, a program based on financial need, cover non-skilled care or custodial care only. Income limit $1,860, asset limit $2,000, 5-year look-back period. Nursing, must provide nursing services 24 hours a day. Need an RN 8 consecutive hours a day. A social worker full-time is needed in a facility with 121 or more beds. An add-on, ADON, is required with 121 or more beds. Need 3.0 hours of nursing per resident per day. Maximum of 20 residents per nurse. Maximum of 40 residents per nurse aide. Charge nurse. Must have a charge nurse on all 3 shifts. Nursing waiver. If the facility has a nursing waiver for minimum staffing hours, it must have an RN or a physician available to respond immediately to telephone calls from the facility. Limit on nursing hours. Nursing staff cannot work more than 16 hours for 3 consecutive days. Nursing. Eat an alternative is an effort to make nursing homes more home-like by using plants, pets, fish, and letting residents have assigned duties like they would in their own home, set the table, care for animals, etc. Holistic care is attending to all of the needs of an individual that includes their spiritual, emotional, and physical needs. Resident-centered care means designing services in a nursing home from the point of view of the residents and what they need and want, as opposed to the profit margins and goals of the facility management. Chapter 11 of 15. Social worker. In a facility with more than 120 beds, must have at least one social worker with at least a bachelor's degree in social work or similar professional qualifications, employed full-time to provide or assure the provision of social services. Physician services. Every resident must be provided under the supervision of a physician, and the facility must have a physician available to furnish necessary medical care in case of emergency. Medical director. The medical director is responsible for the medical program in the facility. The medical director is responsible to approve the resident care policies. Nurse aide retraining. A nurse aide certification is valid indefinitely as long as they complete 12 hours of continuing education per year and do not go for a continuous period of 24 consecutive months without working for pay for at least 1 day or 8 hours. Otherwise, they must complete a new training and competency evaluation program and retake the exam. A nurse aide enrolled in a state-approved training program cannot work longer than 4 months without passing the certification exam. Nursing aide training must include 75 hours of basic nursing skills, personal care skills, recognition of mental health and social service needs, care of cognitively impaired residents, basic restorative services, and residents' rights. Postings, nurse staffing data. A nursing facility must post daily for each shift the current number of licensed and unlicensed nursing staff directly responsible for resident care in the facility. The information must be displayed in a uniform and must be available to the public, usually posted in the lobby. Therapy. Skilled therapy is provided by licensed therapists and is paid for by Medicare and insurance. Physical therapists deal with the lower body and weight-bearing muscles to walk. Occupational therapists deal with the upper body and activities of daily living, like showering, preparing meals, dressing, transferring in and out of bed. Speech therapists deal with the speech abnormalities and swallowing difficulties. Respiratory therapists deal with breathing problems. Chapter 12 of 15. Survey. All facilities must be licensed by the state. A licensed facility is not Medicare or Medicaid certified. They only take insurance and private pay. They will only have a state survey. Medicare and Medicaid facilities must be certified by the CMS, and they will have both a state and federal survey per OBRA 1987. Critical. The current inspection process focuses on outcomes, quality of resident life. Based on QI report, number of pressure sores, dehydration, residents on antipsychotic drugs. Before OBRA in 1987, the focus was focused on process. The federal survey program has 5 different survey types. 1, standard survey, which is an annual survey. 2, extended survey, abbreviated standard survey, complaint survey, partial extended survey. 3, resurvey. If substandard care is found, actual harm, then survey every 6 months for 2 years. Harm found in a standard survey equals extended survey. 5. Harm found in an abbreviated substandard survey equals partial extended survey. Time frame for a survey. Each facility must be surveyed every 9 to 15 months. Report of deficiencies. Surveyors have 10 calendar days to send you a 2,567 from the date they exit the building. 2567, sorry. Report of deficiencies. Surveyors have 10 calendar days to send you a 2567 from date they exit the building. Plan of correction. The facility has 10 calendar days to submit a plan of correction.
Soonest date for resurvey. They cannot come in for 30 days from the date they exited the annual survey or complaint survey. Appeal citation. An IDR is an informal dispute resolution where you request a review in writing of a citation. An FDR is a formal dispute resolution process, and you must ask for a formal administrative hearing. You have 20 calendar days to request a formal administrative hearing from the date of receipt of the 2567. Substandard care is actual harm. Actual harm begins with letter G. Level 1. No harm, no potential for harm. A, isolated. B, patterned. C, widespread. Level 2. No harm, but potential for harm. D, isolated. E, patterned. F, widespread. Level 3. Actual harm, compromised. G, isolated. H, patterned. I, widespread. Level 4. Harm, immediate jeopardy. J, isolated. K, patterned. L, widespread. Survey citations. A facility would actually be cited for F371J. The first F means a federal violation. There are 3 violation types: F, federal; N, state; K, life safety. The J at the end corresponds to the level 4 citation, immediate jeopardy, with a scope of isolated. Survey results. Public information. Survey results and plans of correction must be made available to the public within 14 calendar days after such information is made available to the facility and the plan of correction is approved. Each state shall notify the state long-term care ombudsman of the state's findings if non-compliance with any of the requirements or any of the adverse action taken against a nursing facility. Survey notice to Physicians and Nursing Facility Administrator Licensing Board. If a state finds that a nursing facility has provided substandard quality of care, the state shall notify 1. The attending physician of each resident with respect to which such finding is made, and 2. Any state board responsible for the licensing of the nursing facility administrator of the facility. CMS reports. 2657 is a report of deficiencies requiring a plan of correction. If no plan of correction is required, then a notice of isolated deficiencies would be issued. CMS 671, application for Medicare and Medicaid certification renewal. CMS 672, resident census and condition. CMS 801, off-site surveyor worksheet. CMS 802, roster sample matrix. CMS 803, observation of facility. CMS 805, resident review worksheet. CMS reports and surveys pull off OSCR and off-site prep. OSCR Report 3, Facility Survey History Report, last 5 years. OSCR Report 4, Resident Characteristics. 3, Facility Characteristics Report, and the Resident Level Summary. Conflict in law. When there is a conflict between state and federal laws, use the most stringent or higher standard. Chapter 13 of 15. Quality assessment and assurance. Each nursing facility must maintain a quality assessment and assurance committee consisting of the Director of Nursing Services, a physician designated by the facility, and at least 3 other members of the facility's staff, which the QA committee must meet at least quarterly to identify issues with respect to which quality assessment and assurance activities. The QA committee must develop plans to correct deficiencies and issues identified by the committee. A facility is not required to disclose the records of such committee to the state or federal surveyor. Qual access to quality care.
A nursing facility must establish and maintain identical policies and practices regarding transfer, discharge, and the provision of services required under the state plan for all individuals regardless of source of payment. Critical Update 3.0, Life Safety Code 2012. The MSDS is called the SDS, Safety Data Sheet. The RAI is now the CAA, Care Area Assessment, composed of the MDS and the CAT, Care Area Triggers, which has 20 triggers. Critical Update 3.0. PBJ, Payroll-Based Journal, electronic payroll and census system that captures real payroll and staffing info, and that must be transmitted to CMS quarterly. 4A, internal and external stakeholders. Internal stakeholders are department heads, staff, medical director, family members. External includes the state surveyors, CMS, ombudsman, and local community. 5, medication error rate, 5% or less. 6, QRP, quality reporting program. 7, extend snack from 14 hours to 16 hours if given a nourishing snack and is approved by a resident group. 8, pain assessment is critical concern because staff is not trained to recognize verbal and nonverbal signs of pain. The facility must do a quarterly pain assessment. 9, resident-centered care. 12, management by walking around, MBWA, is now leadership by walking around, LBWA. 13, Needle Stick Prevention Act requires using the latest technology and safest syringes to avoid needle sticks. 14, personal protective equipment, PPE, includes face mask, gloves, and gowns. 15, stasis ulcer is an ulcer on the extremities due to circulation problems and can be caused by peripheral vascular disease or venous insufficiency, not caused by pressure. Access to resident records. All resident records, both financial and medical, are kept for 5 years from discharge. Underage residents' records are kept for 3 years from date that they reach the age of majority or become adults. In most states, that is their 18th birthday. A resident has a right to inspect or review their records within 24 hours, excluding hours occurring during weekend or holiday, after making such a request. Copies must be provided within 48 hours or 2 working days. Charges can charge per page copy and the actual time to copy the records. Access to resident. Access by law enforcement. A nursing facility must permit immediate access to any resident by any representative of the secretary, by any representative of the state, by an ombudsman or agency, or by the resident's individual physician. Does not require resident consent. Access by family. Must permit immediate access to a resident, subject to the resident's right to deny or withdraw consent at any time by immediate family or other relatives of the resident. Law enforcement and state surveyors have access to residents any hour of the day or night. State surveyors can start a survey at any hour of night or day, 7 days per week. Chapter 14 of 15 appears to be a diagram of a smoke compartment. Any point from inside a resident room to their door on the hallway cannot exceed 50 feet. Smoke compartment pointing to a drawing. 8 feet tall, 100 feet something, or maybe it's a layout, I see. 8 feet in width, like the hallway, and then 150 feet long of the hallway. A resident room, 50 square feet. I'm not going to attempt to do this anymore. Bathroom door is 32 inches wide. Resident door on hallway is a minimum of 44 inches wide. Max square footage of a smoke compartment is 22,500 square feet. Need at least 2 smoke compartments on each level of an SNF. There's a fire exit door at the end of the hallway. Max travel distance within a smoke compartment is 200 feet.
Max length of a smoke compartment is 150 feet. Smoke compartment walls have 2-hour fire rating. Double fire doors have a 1.5-hour fire rating. Resident room door, 90-degree angle. Resident door and interior doors in smoke compartment must be 44 inches wide, 1 3/4 inches thick, solid wood core, 20-minute fire rating. Also, I lied about 15 chapters. There's only 14, so good luck.